Have you ever been with someone who just keeps you at arm's length? No matter how hard you try to get closer, it feels like there's a wall you just can't break through. Well, it's a super common relationship mystery, and today we're going to decode it. We're talking all about the dismissive avoidant attachment style.
You know that feeling? It's so confusing, and honestly, it can be really painful. You're supposed to be in a partnership, but you're left with this lingering sense of distance, like you're the only one who's really all in. It can make you feel incredibly lonely, even when you're with them.
And if that sounds familiar, you are so far from alone. It turns out, researchers estimate that about 1 in every 4 adults has this dismissive avoidant attachment style. So this isn't some rare, bizarre thing. It's a really fundamental pattern of human connection, and it has some deep, deep roots. Okay, so let's start by digging into the core of this behavior. And we're not going to frame this as someone being bad or wrong, but more like a psychological puzzle. Once you understand the pieces, the whole picture starts to make a lot more sense. And this right here, this is the central conflict. See, people with this style aren't unfeeling robots. They do want connection, they want a relationship, but their need for independence is so strong, so ingrained, that real emotional intimacy can feel, well, dangerous, like it's going to swallow them whole. So, how does that internal battle actually play out in a relationship? What does it look like? Well, let's move on and get into the telltale clues, the specific behaviors that help us solve the mystery of why they keep their distance. All right, the first set of clues is all about holding back. This can show up as being super vague about the future, or avoiding labels like boyfriend or girlfriend. They might have a hard time talking about deep feelings, or they'll say these confusing things like, well, it's not that you're not important to me, super confusing. And here's the impact of that. That hesitation, that emotional guard, it's not neutral. For the person on the other side, the message that lands, whether it's intended or not, is, you're just not important enough for me to fully commit to. Ouch. Now, the next clues are about actively creating distance. This is where they might pull away right when things start to get serious. Or they'll suddenly start finding little faults with you. Or maybe you ask them an emotional question, and you just get this vague, roundabout answer that leaves you feeling more confused than when you started. And the result? It leaves your partner just kind of floating in this emotional limbo. You're left feeling like you haven't truly been chosen, you're starved for a real connection, and you're constantly trying to read the tea leaves to figure out where you stand. Okay, get ready for the big aha moment, because these behaviors we see in adults, they are not random, and they are absolutely not a reflection of their partner's worth. They are actually these really sophisticated unconscious survival strategies that were learned a long, long time ago, back in childhood. This slide really gets to the heart of it all. See, every child has these 3 core needs: to feel safe, to feel seen, and to feel soothed. But what happens when a parent is consistently distant or rejecting? Psychologist Lisa Firestone calls this an emotional desert. The child learns a really harsh lesson. My needs aren't going to be met here. So what does a kid do? They have to adapt. To avoid that constant sting of having their needs ignored, the child basically learns to act like they don't have any needs at all. They become this little self-sufficient adult who takes care of themselves. It's called pseudo-independence. There's this classic experiment called the strange situation that just captures this perfectly. So here's how it goes. A mother leaves the room, and the avoidant child looks totally fine. No crying, no fuss. But on the inside, a heart monitor shows their anxiety is through the roof. And then, when the mom comes back, the child just ignores her, almost punishing her for the distress they couldn't even show. So, this coping mechanism from childhood evolves into something really fascinating in adulthood. The original fear was about not getting a connection, but now some new research suggests it actually morphs into something else entirely, a deep, profound fear of losing themselves. But here's a really provocative question that researchers are starting to ask. What if that fear, which feels completely real to them, is actually based on a misperception? What if the threat they're so afraid of isn't really happening? This idea is called the delusion hypothesis, and it suggests that people with an avoidant style are so on guard, so hypervigilant about protecting their independence, that they perceive their identity as being threatened in a relationship, even when, from the outside, it's clear that it isn't. As the lead researcher, Dr. Aaron Hughes, puts it, they see any request for compromise or closeness as this huge threat to who they are. It's like their internal alarm system is just calibrated way, way too high. Okay, so we've got all this understanding, but what can you actually do about it? Let's shift gears and get practical. This last section is all about actionable strategies, the keys you can use to navigate this dynamic and maybe, just maybe, build a real connection. This little toolkit here is really about shifting your entire approach. The main idea is to stop doing the things that trigger their defenses and start doing the things that make them feel safe. First up, and this one is huge, don't chase them. When an avoidant partner pulls away, your gut instinct is probably to run after them, to demand an explanation. But all that does is confirm their biggest fear of being trapped, and it just makes them pull away even more. So instead, do this. Give them the space they're asking for. Let them breathe. Then, when things are calm, ask for what you want in a positive way. So instead of, "You never call me," try something like, "It really makes my day when I get to hear from you." See the difference? It's a request, not a criticism. Now this next one might be the hardest of all. Try not to personalize their withdrawal. I know, it feels intensely personal. It feels like a direct rejection of you. But you have to remember, this is an automatic, self-protective reflex that was wired into their brain long before you ever came along. And finally, maybe the most powerful thing you can do is just change your perspective. Remind yourself that what looks like coldness or indifference on the surface is actually just a mask for a really deep-seated fear. A fear of being controlled, of being overwhelmed, and yeah, a fear of intimacy itself. Look, at the end of the day, this knowledge gives you power. It helps you see the pattern instead of just feeling the pain. And while it doesn't guarantee any specific outcome, it can absolutely change the dynamic. Understanding is the key that can unlock the door. The only question is, now that you have it, what's your next step going to be?